Review of stories making the headlines in the papers. With me in the studio is a public affairs analyst, Sheson Okwade, and a journalist, Ife Onyeguli. Thank you, gentlemen of the press.
Thank you for having us.
Good morning. Good morning. It was a rainy day yesterday.
Yeah,
I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was the right time because the heat was something else. So that rain was actually expected. We prayed for it.
God sent that to
All right, let's head straight to the papers now. We'll start with the Vanguard. Nigeria's total debt now 24.4 trillion naira DMO. Federal government owing 19.234 trillion naira by end of 2018. Domestic debt is 68.18% of total. New borrowings since 2015 in excess of 7 trillion naira. And we go to the blueprint. Rampant kidnappings, killings in the North Scary ACF urges troops to comb kidnappers' den. To the nation now, NJC advises Buhari to OK Tanko Muhammad for CJN. President weighs options on Onoge. And the Daily Sun here says Nigeria's debt rises to 24.4 trillion naira, says DMO, as EFCC recovers 392.141 billion naira, $292 million in 15 months. The Guardian, why more Nigerians may die of diet-related diseases. Nation 42nd out of 195 with highest associated deaths. Study warns on trans fats, sugary drinks, red meats, others. This day, Nigeria's public debt grows by 12.25%, hits 24.387 trillion naira. Investments in Sukuk green bond will boost financial inclusion, explains DMO. And New Telegraph here says EFCC, how bank wrote off 8 billion naira loan for Saraki, says Access Bank directors are beneficiaries. Ex-bank MD Akingbola on trial over 179 billion naira fraud. And finally, on Business Day, Nigeria's blood shortage means survival bleak during emergencies. Now, one story that might interest you is an inside story here that says that Nigeria loses 400 billion naira on medical tourism annually. That's the president speaking. Ife.
I saw it this morning, and that figure just it blew me away. And I'm wondering if it's the president who's actually, this is ascribed to him. You ask the question, how do we look at it? He's been more away out of the country on health grounds, seeking health medical attention outside the shores of the country. And it takes my mind to what a young lady put up on social media, where she was talking about the over 50 heads of governments in Africa who always look out, for proper medical care. And she wonders why we cannot have a place, at least in Africa, where you can go to, or even in your own country. So I think we need to begin to look at a government that leads by example. You don't come on the front of pages of newspapers to tell us this, then you're the #1 person who's going out of the country with taxpayers' money to seek Medicare. I think it's something that we need to look at.
Let's get Sheson's perspective to this matter now. 400 billion naira.
That's huge.
It's a huge amount.
I don't really know where to start from, really, because I don't like the attitude of do what I say and don't do what I do. The president cannot be spending this huge amount of money, and he wants us to have so much confidence in him. If more like 50% of this we are saying is invested in developing our health sector, it's going to go a long way. He has this opportunity because he's the #1 citizen. Yeah. But for people that cannot offer this kind of the basic primary health care are not even available, it's really alarming. It gives us reason why we don't know whether we should restore more confidence, why some people felt the president talks from the two sides of the mouth, because you cannot be spending as much as this as the president of the country, and you expect us to have.
I remember there was an incident where the wife of the president went to the hospital somewhere and she couldn't find even paracetamol or Panadol. And she raised an alarm.
She did.
But then, what does this show commitment?
That's the Asarok Clinic, as it were.
Yes, Asarok Clinic. Does this show our commitment as the government now, speaking on the side of the government now, that they are committed to ensuring that quality medical care is delivered to the people, because this is very important.
I think that's an indictment on the government, if you ask me. If the Asarok Clinic didn't have all what it was that the First Lady or the wife of the President talked about, it's a huge indictment. And I would have thought that the government would now begin to look at that, because we keep talking about this. It's not even just about this government. The previous governments, you know, that we had, these complaints were always there. Sometimes you wonder, is it that they are not thinking that the people will need this? Do you know how many people die daily because they're not able to access, you know, the right care that they need in hospitals?
Recently, the cost for dialysis was on the pages of newspapers saying that it was too high. And where there are equipments, it is not properly maintained.
Veronica, now that you've talked about dialysis, yes, I have been hit by it. My husband died from kidney disease. And, you know, if I begin to tell you what it was we went through, we wouldn't leave this place today. It was huge. I was spending close to 200,000 weekly, yes, so he could get dialysis 3 times a week. It was huge. It was crazy. I had to come out to ask people for money. Now, if I could come out and people responded at some point, of course, we couldn't raise the 15 million he needed to go for the transplant till he passed. Some people are not able to raise such money. I read of a woman whose husband abandoned her in the hospital, and she, you know, she had to get dialysis. She couldn't. I don't know if she's still alive now, but the man had to run away. So when you look at it, these are the things people are facing. I have a friend in the UK who got a transplant, and she said to me, because of the health insurance scheme there, I got it for free. Even someone donated the kidney. It was for free. She didn't pay for it.
Speaking about the health insurance scheme, Sheson, we've had one issue or the other. This was, you know, and to ensure that people have access to health care and perhaps quality medical health care.
I will always say that we don't have a government who is sincere about the well-being of this
and sensitive
of his citizen. If we are really, really, really sincere with ourselves, you see, fine, we always say government cannot do anything, but you need to have an oversight function. If you have actually put a person in position to get things done, you see, we are always good on papers. People will do a good write-up. When it's time for implementation, it becomes a problem. And you see, what challenged me most of the time is the better ends. Most Nigerians are the people they are going there to meet. If you go to US, you go to UK, some of these are Nigerians, guys, that are top-notch medical practitioners there.
That's
so
true.
Why are they not practicing here? Because there is no conducive environment for them to operate.
They don't have the working tool.
There is nothing. And each year, you see them investing so much.
Did you hear where they had an exam recently for medical personnel who want to leave the shores of the country to go work, I think, in one of the countries in the Middle East? There was a huge crowd there.
Of course.
A lot of Nigerians live the shores of the country.
Because there are no tools. There's no tools for you to work here in this country.
Recently, I went to Luth, and when you look at the state of that hospital, now this is supposed to be, you know, a hospital that belongs to a university and also the government. And you wonder what really is going on.
I won't want to say much. You see, when they refer you to a government hospital, it's just that they've given you a death warrant.
No, I don't want to believe that, Sheson, because sometimes...
See, we have good professionals that are there, but there are no effective tools to implement them. And the attitude of the personnel is really, really alarming. You see people, they are not... You see, when you go out of this country, you see the passion at which people work. Medical practitioners at which they want to serve you. But here, a matron, a nurse is just gisting how the husband talked to you, and somebody is dying. There is no sense of urgency in them. So it gives me so much worry. There is one thing to have the tool. There is one thing to have the right attitude to do the work. That's where we have the problem.
How do we nip this in the bud, Ife?
It's a systemic thing. You have to get it right. As he said, the equipment will have to be there. People need to be trained. They need to be retrained. And they need to be paid well. That's the idea. I called someone, of course, we needed to have a conversation, and I called him so we can talk about autism, and he said to me, look, we're down tooling somewhere as it is now. We're not able to come out to talk about this. So because they are not paid well, you won't get the best out of the person. It's as simple as that. Pay them well, put the hospitals in order, and let people work and be happy with the work that they do.
I'll support that,
we can get it right.
Let's us to have passion for what we're doing. When we drive with passion, then the other side of payment, we are talking about life.
All right, thank you, Ifi Onyegbule and Sheson Okwande, for your time on TVC Breakfast.
Me right now to do a review of stories making headlines in the papers this morning is public affairs analyst Sheson Okwande. I also have journalist Ifi Onyegbule. It's good to have you both in the studio.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure.
All right, so we'll begin right away with Daily Trust, which reads, it's leading with the alleged husband killing story, where the court tells the accused, Mariam Sanda, you have case to answer, but discharges her mother, brother, and housemaid. The Nation is next, leading with NJC advises President Buhari to okay Tanko Mohammed for Chief Justice of Nigeria. President is said to be weighing options on the suspended CJN Onogen. Vanguard is next, is leading with Nigeria's total debt now stands at 24.4 trillion naira. That's according to the Debt Management Office. Further riders say FG is owing 19.234 trillion as at the end of 2018, with domestic debt standing at 68.18% of total, and new borrowing since 2015 in excess of 7 trillion. We'll talk about that in a bit, but we move on to Blueprint now, leading with rampant kidnappings, killings in the Northeast, scary. That's according to Arewa Consultative Forum, and now the group has urged troops to comb kidnappers' den. We talked about that earlier on the show today. To Daily Times now, the lead story is Goje Gaya deepen 9th Senate leadership tussle as Yobe Youth Coalition endorses Senator Lawan for Senate President. Ex-minister reportedly cautioning APC over hasty decision on NAS leadership. Let's move on to the Guardian now. Guardian is towing the line of health now. Why more Nigerians may die of diet-related diseases. It's warning that study says we all should watch out on trans fats, sugary drinks, red meats, and others. Nigeria stands at 42nd out of 195 with diet-associated deaths. Daily Sun. Nigeria's debt rises to 24.4 trillion naira. According to the DMO, EFCC is set to recover 392.141 billion naira and another $292 million in 15 months. This day is also leading with Nigeria's public debt growth at 12.25%, hitting 24.387 trillion naira. Investments in Sukuk green bond will boost financial inclusion, according to the DMO. To New Telegraph now, where the EFCC is leading with this story, how bank wrote off 8 billion naira loan for Senate President Bukola Saraki and says Access Bank directors are beneficiaries. A further rider reads, ex-bank MD Akibola on trial for a $179 billion fraud. Finally, at this time, Business Day is leading with Nigeria's blood shortage means survival bleak during emergencies. Well, that's the bit we can take looking through the papers, but we must talk about this latest DMO report, Sheson and Ifi. I'll begin with Sheson now. Nigeria's debt stands at 24.4 trillion naira. There seems to be an increase if you monitor the development over the years from 2015.
Yeah, when this government came in, I knew through the former minister, who were being told that we need to borrow some money to build infrastructures, to set some of the things, that what we're lacking to make our economy grow is to get infrastructure in place. But this is 4 years down the line. Some of this money has actually been borrowed to put in code some of the infrastructure that we need to do. But for me, we are not getting value for some of those things because there are no proper monitoring of some of the things that have been done. You see, it is in this country that contracts have been escalated beyond what it is, what it should be, because of individual, benefit that we stand to gain. See, we keep increasing these year in, year out without reducing our debt profile. And it's dangerous to us. When they came in, it was a welcome idea that you need to borrow to invest, borrow to build infrastructure and make things work. But here in this part of the country, you can build a big edifice that you stand to gain, but we lack the maintenance culture of it. And when you don't maintain something after building it, it becomes a problem. So whatever money you must have invested in that kind of infrastructure is a waste. And that's part of the problem we're facing now. This thing will keep increasing if we don't do proper monitoring on some of the things that we're doing.
Let me run that along. What do you think? He said something at the onset. Are these things really visible?
I'd like to toe his line of thoughts. You look at it, you wonder, you hear the whopping sum that government talks about most of the time. We've spent this, we've spent that. Recently, there was a report about some huge amount of money set aside just to design a building, and I'm wondering why that had to be. He's talked about infrastructure, and I've looked around. Sometimes you drive around Lagos, even some other states in Nigeria, you see buildings supposedly owned by the federal government, dilapidated there, abandoned. One is the one you have not too far from the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. You have that big edifice there. Nothing is happening there. There's another one too right there on Obalende. You wonder what is going on there. You go to Ogun State, there is some secretariat there that is abandoned. What are we doing with these places? But you earmark money to start new projects. Before you know it, the government is done, it goes away, another government comes and does not follow through. We keep borrowing. Sometimes I wonder how Nigeria is still standing with all of the monies that we keep talking about. Look at the debt you're talking about. But you find that people still earn as much as, when you talk about what it is that government officials earn, you wonder. Yet you don't have money to pay 30,000 Naira minimum wage.
Fantastic point now from Ife. And again, you've also talked about how we have to maintain these debts now. So what do we do? What hard choices do we need to take as this government prepares for another term? Until
we come out of this wastage attitude. You see, it's not only in the aspect of finance. Like if you said the other time, we have so many infrastructure that ordinary putting a right
that can be renovated.
You work out, and all you need, all we're saying these days, that is being abandoned and new infrastructures are being built. We are not building on the old one that we have. Until we come out of, we are too wasteful in this country. It's got right from the leadership to the followers. Everything about us is wasted. Everybody clamor in the energy sector. You see people owning their bulb, going to work from morning to night. Do you know the implication of that? You are overloading the transformer. All you want to say is that, well, I've got my bills to pay. You see, until we cut our excesses and we reduce those wastages, we are not going anywhere. And it's quite unfortunate that some of those things we are doing is going to impact in the future of our nation.
Absolutely, and like you said, because if you look at it now, the paper here, Vanguard is even given empirical evidence. 2014, it stood at 12.1 trillion. 2015, 12.6. 2016, 17.36. 2017, 22.37. And now 2018, 24.4. But with what you said now about what the problem with the government also transcends to the population, I'm thinking if a disconnect now. We've talked about waste, we've talked about people, not preserving these things that are bought with hard-earned money, so to speak, that we haven't even gotten around to paying. Is it a matter of disconnect with the government, which people need to, take it upon themselves? It's an ownership thing. These things belong to us. Is this something that the government needs to work around to touch the psyche of the Nigerian?
I'm wondering how government is going to break that, break into the heart or the psyche of the average Nigerian. I'll tell you the truth, the average Nigerian is dazed because every day you open the pages of the newspaper, you don't find cheery news there. You see things that demoralize you. How are you going to tell someone to change when the people who should lay good examples are not doing the right thing? You're driving on the road and you see a police vehicle with a siren on a one-way traffic. What do you want to tell the common man? I found myself, blocking someone because he was on a one-way traffic. You don't do that. Those of us on the traffic are not mad. So I'm thinking that if government needs to change something, it has to start from government. They did that campaign. It begins with me. Let us start with them and the people will follow.
Nothing is starting with them.
Sheson Okwade, Ifeonyegbule, many thanks to you both now for the analysis of today's stories in the papers.
Thank you very much.